Firefighters continue to contain blazes in parts of France, Spain, and England. In Spain, firefighters battle multiple blazes even as they make progress stabilizing two main fires of concern in the Madrid region and Avila the day before. And authorities in France say wildfires in the southwest of the country had not expanded, but warns danger was far from over. Tracy Furness has more.
Helicopters carry water buckets, making repeated passes over Plage du Truc Vert in Lège Cap Ferret, France, Thursday, dropping water on lingering hotspots as smoke continues to rise from the scorched forest. Jean-Luc Jalise, president of the Gironde Department Council of Fire and Rescue Service, says, "We have 3,000 firefighters still engaged at this stage across the entire fire, which hasn't really spread in surface area today, approximately 42,000 hectares. We are still dealing with the same areas we had yesterday." In the same district, local residents and volunteers work alongside firefighters to help contain flare-ups. Cooler temperatures, higher humidity and more favourable winds aid their effort, but underground fires remain a persistent threat. French authorities said Thursday that 84,000 people evacuated due to the wildfires in Gironde were told they could return home, a clear sign firefighters are gaining control. Spanish firefighters battled multiple blazes Thursday, even as they made progress stabilising two main fires in the Madrid region and Avila. In northwestern Zamora, close to the border with Portugal, firefighters are working to control a blaze that had forced officials to issue an evacuation order for several towns, with about 1,000 people asked to shelter in place. This, as experts believe, we need to stop burning fossil fuels to stop global warming, blamed for the heat waves that are causing more wildfires.
We need to stop burning fossil fuels, because as long as we keep burning fossil fuels, temperatures will increase globally, and that will mean that these fire weather conditions will get worse and worse and worse, and there are hard limits to what we can adapt to.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The advanced decision on life-sustaining treatment ordinance takes effect. The ordinance aims to allow terminally ill patients to pass away in peace and with dignity. Mimosa Ngai reports.
Advanced medical directives mean terminally ill patients who are mentally capable can indicate in advance the life-sustaining treatments, including CPR, they wish to refuse under specified clinical circumstances. Mr. Hong is a 77-year-old leukemia patient who stays in an elderly home. Diagnosed in May, his condition later deteriorated, prompting the hospital to perform CPR on him. In January, Hong signed an advanced medical directive under the witness of a doctor. Asked for his reasons, the elderly says he does not want to force himself to live and waste his family's time to take care of him. Under the advanced decision on life-sustaining treatment ordinance, terminally ill patients are provided with greater autonomy in choosing how they wish to conclude the final chapter of their life. It also protects medical professionals and rescuers, exempting them from the relevant legal liability. At the elderly home where Hong stays, the operator says they have seen about a 5% increase of people signing advanced medical directives since the ordinance came into effect. Mimosa Ngai, TVB News.
Most regulations under the ride-hailing ordinance will take effect next Monday. The government will invite ride-hailing platforms to apply for the licenses as early as August. Authorities will also step up enforcement measures targeting unlicensed ride-hailing services. But that's 3 months before drivers could register for licenses at the end of November. After years of deliberation, the Road Traffic Amendment Ride-Hailing Service Ordinance is finally shifting into gear next Monday, as most of its legal provisions will take effect on that day. The Transport and Logistics Bureau will kickstart the licensing process, inviting interested platform operators to apply for ride-hailing licenses. At the same time, the Transport Department will accept applications for a new written examination for both taxis and ride-hailing drivers. The first batch of candidates is expected to sit the exam in mid-September this year. Starting next Monday, authorities will also step up enforcement against illegal paid passenger transport service. Convicted drivers will have their driving licenses suspended for at least 1 year, with disqualification for most serious cases extended to up to 3 years. But as the city switches lanes towards a more regulated ride-hailing market, questions remain over whether there will be enough legal vehicles on the road. Currently, Hong Kong has around 18,000 licensed taxis, with roughly 1,000 privately owned cars legally authorized to provide hire services. Before the new licensing regime reaches full speed, fewer than 20,000 legally compliant vehicles will be available to provide point-to-point services. As supply might fail to keep pace with demand, will commuters face longer waiting times? This woman says she has a friend who used to be an Uber driver, but because of the legal limbo, he stopped the service. This Malaysian tourist says it's definitely easier for travelers to hail a ride via Uber, so it might spell more trouble for them during the transition period. Roundtable lawmaker Mark Chung anticipates the supply of ride-hailing services will dip to around 40% of the current level at its worst over the coming 3 months. But the actual situation depends on the enforcement intensity by authorities. The amended Code of Practice for bamboo and metal scaffolding safety takes effect on Friday. Under the amendment, new provisions include contractors must ensure materials such as plastic sheeting and canvas installed on the scaffolding to fulfill the required standard of fire retardant performance. The Labor Department says individuals who fail to follow the provisions under the code may be taken by the court as a factor in determining if they have breached the relevant safety and health legislation. Welcome back. An explosion inside a coal mine in southwest Pakistan kills at least 32 miners, with 2 others underground still unaccounted for in what officials believe to be life-threatening conditions as rescuers continue search. The blast apparently was triggered by a buildup of methane gas and occurred on the outskirts of the Baluchistan provincial capital of Quetta, a government mine inspector says. Rescue workers assisted by the Provincial Disaster Management Authority and other emergency responders are continuing efforts to reach the trapped miners. It's unclear how deep underground the miners were working. Authorities say rescue operation would continue until all the trapped miners were accounted for, despite stating the chances of finding anyone alive diminish after methane gas explosions because oxygen levels dropped to 0. In the latest development in the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump says a deal has been reached for Hamas to disarm and Israel to withdraw its forces from Gaza. But many hurdles, conditions, and long timelines remain to wind down the war in the Palestinian territory, as several Palestinians were wounded in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza hours after Trump announced the deal. This as the U.S. Senate rejects another war powers resolution to halt the war with Iran. Tracy Furness has more.
Israel says they conducted 2 strikes in Khan Yunis and Gaza City targeting Hamas militants just hours after Trump's announcement. White House announces a deal was reached for Hamas to disarm and Israel to withdraw its forces from Gaza. The announcement comes 9 months after a U.S. brokered ceasefire was signed. Trump's 20-point ceasefire plan calls on the militant group to surrender its weapons and destroy its vast network of tunnels. It also envisions Israeli forces withdrawing from Gaza, the arrival of the new technocratic Palestinian government, deployment of an international security force, and the rebuilding of the battered Palestinian enclave. Negotiations between Israel and Hamas were largely deadlocked over the implementation of its second phase, including the disarmament of Hamas and the reconstruction of Gaza, and military attacks have escalated. Meanwhile, movement of vessels at the Strait of Hormuz was still paralyzed as the 5-month conflict between the US and Iran has not come to an end. This as the US and Iran each fired barrages of missiles Thursday as the pattern of back-and-forth strikes took hold again and hope dimmed for a quick end to the conflict.
On the Middle East, OCHA warns that the humanitarian consequences of the regional escalation are worsening by the day, with civilians increasingly at risk and essential infrastructure disrupted across the region. Since yesterday, civilian casualties have been reported in Iran and Kuwait, while damage or disruption to critical infrastructure has been reported in Iran, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. Jordan and Egypt remain vital lifelines for humanitarian operations, including medical evacuations and aid deliveries.
Meanwhile, Senate Republicans voted against advancing the measure in the Democrats' latest effort to end Trump's ability to engage in military action without congressional approval. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Some 77 people have been arrested outside London's Westminster Magistrates Court after expressing support for Palestine Action, a protest group banned as a terrorist organization by the British government. More than 3,000 people have been arrested for actions as simple as holding signs declaring "I support Palestine Action" since the group was outlawed. More than 1,200 have been charged under the Terrorism Act, although no one has yet been convicted.
People are just being arrested for just say a poem or not even say "I support." So there is kind of like the position from the government is taken. Apart it's very tough. It's not so if you anything to do with them that they've been considered terrorists for their direct action. U.S. people here that they've been arrested 6-8 times and they're pensioners.
This latest round of arrests comes as Palestine Action was given the go-ahead to ask the UK Supreme Court to overturn the year-old ban on the group, which makes membership in or support for the organization a crime punishable by up to 14 years in prison. The government first outlawed Palestine Action after activists broke into a Royal Air Force base in June 2025 to protest against British support for Israel's military offensive in Gaza. The group challenged the ban and it was quashed by the High Court in February. But in June, the Court of Appeal ruled the ban was a justified and proportionate interference with freedom of expression. The death toll climbs to 34 from a powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake in southwestern Japan that set off an explosion at a mall, toppled a factory chimney and flattened homes in the southern main island of Kyushu. Officials say the rescue operation at the Nippon Paper Industries factory in Yasushiro City, where a chimney fell, has ended. 11 were rescued and 9 lost their lives. A rescue team is doing a final sweep around the collapsed Aeon Mall in Kashima to see if there is anyone missing. More than 3,500 homes were still without electricity and more than 9,000 people were staying in shelters, where power sources were being added to provide air conditioning. The Hong Kong port area of the redeveloped Huanggang port is officially under the jurisdiction of the SAR government. On social media, Secretary for Security Chris Tang says he has visited the port area. Tang says police and immigration department officers have been deployed to the port area. He says authorities later conducted a cross-departmental meeting to report on the progress of the preparatory work for the port's opening. Speaking to the media, Tang says authorities will carry out about 20 kinds of testing at the port area and host a massive drill with Shenzhen counterparts. After all that, Tang says the government will announce the port's opening date. A registered fire service installation contractor has been arrested for allegedly issuing a false equipment certificate without conducting an annual inspection. An investigation found a fire extinguisher was severely corroded after it exploded at a restaurant on Lantau Island last September. Prior to the incident, a registered fire service installation contractor had claimed to have carried out an annual inspection and issued a certificate of fire service installations and equipment, certifying it was in good condition and met requirements. The Fire Services Department suspects the contractor did not attend the site in person for the inspection and referred the case to police. A 62-year-old male contractor has been arrested on suspicion of making a false statement. A 32-year-old man dies after being assaulted in the Chim Sha Tsui pub on Sunday. 2 men have been arrested on suspicion of involving in the attack. A total of 9 people have been arrested so far. The victim attended a birthday party celebration at a pub on Cameron Road on Sunday. During the event, he was attacked by customers at the next table and was sent to the hospital unconsciously. Police arrested 2 men aged 29 and 30 in Lok Ma Chau on Wednesday. Police have reclassified the case as murder. A broad trough of low pressure brought torrential rain across the city throughout the day, with the red and amber rainstorm warnings in force for nearly 5 hours. More than 100 millimeters of rainfall was recorded in several western districts. The bands of intense thunderstorms swept across Hong Kong from west to east, with flash floods reported in Pak Fu Lam. Apart from the western districts on Hong Kong Island, Kwai Ching and Lamma Island also logged more than 100 millimeters of precipitation. Less hard too was Cheung Kwan O. The amber and red rainstorm warnings were in effect from 10:20 a.m. to around 3 p.m. The city's forecaster says the broad trough of low pressure will continue affecting Hong Kong over the next few days, bringing bouts of heavy rain and thunderstorms from Saturday through Monday. Conditions are expected to improve by the middle of next week. According to the advanced estimates from the Census and Statistics Department, the city's gross domestic product rises 4.3% year-on-year in real terms in the second quarter. That's underpinned by robust exports and resilient domestic demand. On a seasonally adjusted basis, however, the economy contracted 0.6% compared with the first quarter. Total exports of goods recorded an increase of nearly 29% year-on-year. Over the same period, imports of goods grew by 29.3% on par with a hike in Q1. Looking ahead, the government expects strong global demand for AI-related products to continue bolstering Hong Kong's merchandise exports in the second half of the year, while exports of services should sustain growth in visitor numbers, visitor arrivals, and steady demand for financial and business services. Domestic demand is expected to stay firm, supported by stable labor market conditions. That's the news. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.